Adam Collins and Harsha Bhogle. It is Cricbuzz chatter on Boxing Day at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. They call this place the People's Ground, but people have not been in it since June. Indeed, they've not been here since February or March, I should say, during the Women's World T20 final. But no sport since June. Today, though, what magnificent cricket it was. India, superb with the ball. They were all out for 36 this time last week. Well, they were the ones making it talk today, skittling the home side for 195. They're 36, that number again, 36 for 1 at the close. But Harsha, as I welcome you to Cricbuzz Chatter, what a fantastic day for Jasprit Bumrah, for Ashwin, for Bumrah Siraj on debut. Everything clicked.
You know, I'm just remembering all the Boxing Day test matches I've been to and the great atmosphere that always accompanies it. If indeed the last time people congregated to the Boxing Day test match, to a Boxing Day game, or to an MCG game, was that Women's T20 World Cup final, then I was there. Just managed to leave Australia in time. I don't want to talk about the result. Let's talk about today. I enjoyed today's test cricket on so many fronts. Interested to see Ajinkya Rahane's captaincy, interested to see how the two debutants went along, how Bumrah stood up in the absence of Shami, how Ashwin continued to remind people that he can bowl. So it was such a beautiful day's test match cricket. And then those first 3 or 4 overs from Stark and Cummins, when you thought that India would never score a run, so many shades to today's game.
It was thrilling. I know this ground, Harsha, so well, and it makes certain noises and sounds. And when the crowd are cheering every ball, ooh, ah, smacking the boundary boardings as we work our way towards stumps, the shadow from the southern side of the ground making its way over as well with that huge, great grandstand here. You know you've seen something special. And today, that's how it felt from the outset. The clear blue sky, it was a stunning summer's morning. And the fact that India had to bowl first, I think, from my perspective, might have just played in their favour. You always want to bat first at Melbourne, but it just gave them a chance to put some distance from 36 all out and transfer the pressure back onto the Australian batsmen.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of players say it's a good toss to lose. It's, as I was saying on air today, it's something I've never understood, because as a captain, when you go out, you have to know exactly what to do. But it's interesting, Glenn McGrath explained it to me, that some days you think it might not be bad to bowl, but you always want to bat first after winning the toss. It was one of those days today when you say, yeah, I want to bat first, but you know what, it might be a little spicy. My bowlers won't mind it. So from that point of view, I think Ajinkya Rahane was a bit lucky, but then his bowlers delivered. I just enjoyed watching Bumrah. You know, when you're the leader of the attack, every time the captain looks at you, brings you back, you take a wicket in that spell. I think there was just one spell he didn't take a wicket in, when he bowled 3 overs for 2 runs or something like that in between. But he was fantastic. 4 for 56. Ashwin 3 for 35 from 24 overs. To me, that was one of the highlights of the day. The fact that Rahane quickly realized there was a touch of moisture, the ball will grip, and brought his spinners on very quickly.
Yeah, it was really savvy captaincy. All the overs for spin before lunch, because there was turn and there was bounce. And you often hear Shane Warne say, if a pitch will seam, a pitch will turn. And Rahane was savvy enough to go with that plan of attack. And gee, it paid dividends when Ashwin was in the book in the space of a couple of overs, courtesy of a Matthew Wade top edge. And of course, Bumrah already got that initial incision, courtesy of Joe Burns' outside edge. But Bumrah, fabulous here. When we were out here a couple of years ago, Harsha, watching a famous Indian victory, 6 for 33 in that first innings, he really picked up from where he left off here this morning, with bowling from where we are, where I'm situated in the commentary box right now, the northern end of the MCG. He was right on it. He didn't give Joe Burns a chance to get into the innings. He was almost suffocating him from the outset.
And those lovely lengths that he bowled, I thought he judged the length pretty quickly. The line was fantastic. As you said, he bowled really well to Joe Burns up front, and then came back. He always seemed to have something in reserve. And was interesting that Ajinkya Rahane called him back, didn't bowl Siraj till lunch, but Bumrah was so good. I mean, I just enjoy watching him bowl. He's always got good cheer around him. He's always smiling. When he takes a wicket, it's not like he's climbed Everest and he's never going to get there again. He just has a little smile. So yeah, Bumrah was exciting. So was Ashwin. By the way, if you haven't already seen it, you must see a video clip. There's a camera entirely on Ashwin while that ball is going up, the one that Wade hit, and then the expression starts to change as Shubman Gill comes in. Then his heart is in his mouth, and then finally the catch is taken. Was fantastic. I mean, I'm thinking of poor Shubman Gill. Would his first contribution to Test match cricket have been running into Jadeja and putting a catch down? So just as well.
Well, it was very close. I mean, obviously, you know, Harsha, this ground in the winter is used for Australian rules football, and it was so close to a shirt front, as we would call it, with a hip and shoulder right down the middle of Ravinder Jadeja. But he had the presence of mind to push the younger man away and to take the safe chance. He bowled some important overs before lunch alongside Ashwin. Let's focus in on the Indian number one tweaker. I mean, a lot of talk before the last series here 2 years ago about his fairly ordinary record in 2011 and 2014, where he averaged in excess of 60 across 2 series. Well, in the last 3 test matches he's played in Australia, he averages 17.2, including more wickets today, 3 of them, bowling to that plan, that wicket, that Stephen Smith off the shoulder of the bat around the corner after beating him with a huge amount of turn from the previous delivery. The way he sprinted out to cover and raised his fist in the air, for mine, that was symbolic of it being a triumph of planning. They put in place a plan. Yeah. They knew what they wanted to do to Stephen Smith, and they pulled it off. And congratulations to them for it.
And Ashwin is temperamentally a fast bowler. You know, he's got that aggressive gene in him. He's always trying to bowl fast. But what I enjoyed, and something I never thought I would see, was 2 catches at backward short leg on the first day of a test match in Australia for a finger spinner. There might have been a third. Initially, Labuschagne got a little edge and it just flew beyond Pujara at backward shot. Fell a couple of yards away, so it wasn't a catch, but fell a couple of yards away. But just the bounce that he was getting was wonderful. I liked his line. He's a very different bowler. Nathan Lyon will always bowl 4th, 5th stump, turning it back in. Ashwin a little more straight in line with the stumps, getting the short legs in. Was wonderful to watch. 3 for 35 from 24 overs. He enters the top 20 in the wicket takers list. And it blows my mind every single time that we find reasons to belittle Ravichandran Ashwin. 370 wickets, Adam. If I had won, I would strut like I was a peacock. 370 wickets. But also, as you know, Australia is a forbidding place for finger spinners. It takes a long time to learn how to bowl in Australia. Even mighty bowlers like Murali and Harbhajan have struggled. So today, I thought he found an ally in his captain who brought him in at just the right time. And he delivered.
It begs the question whether he's ever bowled better than this. Perhaps a question we might consider at the end of the series. At the start of his career, Bumrah Siraj, a bowler you and I have showed a lot of interest in over the last couple of years on Cricbuzz Chatter. We saw his international debut a couple of years ago at Adelaide Oval. Today, brought into the side to show control with aggression, but bowled pacily and also bowled to his plan. I love the idea that Kohli and now Rahane, now that he's got the armband on, is willing to employ that 5-4 or 4-5 field with catches on the leg side. You don't often see opposing sides arrive in this country with such firm plans. And again, it worked for Smith via Ashwin, and it also worked for Siraj via Labuschagne, the other top dog in this Australian lineup, also caught at leg gully, as he was at Sydney back in 2009, of course. So the fact that they've got some corporate knowledge and they've executed the plan so well, I mean, there's something to be said for sticking to your guns, and they truly did it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because, to be honest, I was just starting to think about that line. You know, I know Siraj swings the ball away from the right-hander, but everything was slanted in. You almost got the feeling that Labuschagne was a co-conspirator in the wicket that Siraj actually got. And then in that second spell, when the ball started to leave the batsman, that spell he bowled to Cameron Green was just fantastic. I think it also told me that he was now starting to feel like he belonged, was showing all aspects of his game. So I thought that spell was just magnificent. There's a lot of Indian bowlers who actually bowl better with the old ball. You'd see that with Umesh Yadav as well, largely because in India the ball reverses. But this was a tribute to the fact that Mohammad Siraj has done a lot of hard yards with the red ball. He's picked up 3 5-ers, he's got an 8-4, but he bowls long spells with the red ball. Sometimes he's frustrating to watch with the white ball, but with the red ball where you can bowl consistent lengths, get the ball to move either way, he's a much better red ball bowler, and he showed that today. I just hope the nerves have settled because he looked really good today, but he'll be judged at the end of the test match and beyond at the end of the series.
Yeah, let's hope it's the start of a long and distinguished test career. In terms of skittling Australia for 195 on the first day of Boxing Day, let's put this in a bit of historical perspective. Since Australia were all out 98 against England 10 years ago on this day, the average first innings score in the first innings of a test at Melbourne has been 389. Now, at Adelaide, you go big in the first dig as well, which India were able to prevent last week, bowling them out for 191. Back-to-back test matches where they've done the job in the first innings against Australia. I mean, Yes, all out 36. Yes, they ended up getting thumped in that first test match. But, I mean, if you exclude that from, and it's hard to, of course it's hard to, but if you just drill down on the bowling right now, they continue to bowl teams out away from home on the first day of a test since 2018. And I think that speaks volumes about where this bowling unit's at.
Yes, they do. But it's now up to the batsmen, as we've seen in the past. It's now up to the batsmen to say, look, the bowlers are doing their job. It's not always that India traveled overseas and had seam bowlers good enough to go and do the job. The bowlers are doing it. It's now up to the batsmen. And I'll tell you what, Adam, when that Australian bowling attack started with that first over by Mid-Stark, when you've got that kind of control in your first over, the slowest ball is what, 142 or 143. It's almost like he said, okay, I'll bowl a loosener at 142. That was one of the best first overs you will see. And then Pat Cummins. Shubman Gill is probably telling him, Uncle Pat, where were you all this time? I saw you in purple for KKR. What a different game this is. The color of the ball is different. The spells are different. The pitch is different. It's still cricket. What a great first over that was to Shubman Gill. Just playing and missing. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, that's when the MCG was truly heaving. And that might be a nice place for us to go into the hotspot. Harsha, thinking about tomorrow and considering the role of Ajinkya Rahane, he had the Midas touch today. His bowling changes were exemplary, but he's got a job to do with the bat. And of course, tomorrow, we know that's going to play on his mind as well. We saw the leadership of Tim Paine today as well, got out cheaply, but let's drill down on that run out. That run out of Tim Paine that was the only question anybody was asking for about half an hour there when the Australian captain was reprieved, courtesy of the third umpire. How did you see it?
Well, Shane Warne says it's out. Akash Chopra says it's out. Now, as an umpire, are you saying I need conclusive evidence that he had not crossed the line? There was no conclusive evidence that he had crossed the line, but there was no conclusive evidence the other way as well. Sometimes the shadow of the bat can create the effect that he was in. Now, Paul Wilson is saying, I wasn't sure, but it's one of those pictures where you can see what you want to see. If you start from the position that there was something there, you'll spot something there. From my view, I thought there was nothing behind. I just think that if you had the Zinger bails, the bail might just have come off. The lights might just have come on a split second earlier, which would have shown you that Tim Paine was actually outside. But there you are. As it turned out, it didn't make much of a difference. But I still think the Zinger bails would have created a difference. You also realize that with such good cameras, you still have an in-between frame. I think that in-between frame would have shown that he was out. But I thought it was out, but I wouldn't have wanted to be the umpire. If I was an umpire, I would have understood the not out.
Yeah, for all the technology, I still can't believe, I said the same thing on radio. I can't believe we still have the in-between frame situation, but I'm sure that will advance the Zing bail debate, which we seem to have almost every test series at the moment. Harsha, let's press fast forward. Harsha, when we were in the hotspot, I touched on Ajinkya Rahane's leadership. Yes. Tomorrow, he's a batsman, he's a captain, he's a leader, he's the stand-in for Virat Kohli on day 2 at the MCG when it's always a brilliant place to bat. We saw that from India 2 years ago. Talk me through the way Ajinkya Rahane thinks. What's the last thing he's doing before he goes to bed tonight?
The first thing you will say about Ajinkya Rahane is when there is a decision to be taken, he will choose the adventurous, the more attacking option. There's a lot of steel inside Rahane. He comes through as the good boy, but there's a lot of steel inside him. So he will always take the adventurous option. The first thing I want to see is, does he want to bat at number 4? There's an early wicket. Is Ajinkya Rahane coming out or is Hanuma Vihari coming out? Is he going to say, a bit like Michael Clarke did, that number 5 is now my position, I'm the entrenched person there, I will not move? Or will he say, no, I'm captain, I need to move up the order and I will go up and bat at number 4. Vihari will bat at 5, and then we'll have Pant and the others batting at 6. That's the first thing I want to see. I really do want to see him batting at number 4 and taking the lead from there and sending a message to everybody. But he does need runs behind him. The moment he has runs behind him, he's feeling good about himself. And if he gets runs, it means India coming closer to 195. For a start, when he goes to bed, he's got to believe that the number 36 does not exist, whether it's for 9 or for 1. He cannot think of that number.
Harsha, just quickly in closing, I think it's 15 Indian men have struck a century on debut. Shubman Gill looked outstanding this evening against the new ball. Are we going to be talking about the 16th tomorrow?
I mean, I'm thinking of this young kid from Fazilka in Punjab whose family moves to Chandigarh at a young age just to allow this boy to play. And then he gets into test match cricket and saying, is this what cricket is about? That first over from Pat Cummins. If Labuschagne had held on to it, who knows what the story of a career would have been. But I just loved the way he played after that. I don't want to put the mockers on him, but he looked like he belonged. That's one thing you look at. Whether someone makes 10 or 15, I mean, we said Rahul Dravid looks like he belonged when he made a 15 or a 20 in South Africa in those conditions. So he looks like he belongs. If he goes on and makes the runs, wow. But even if he doesn't, I think we found somebody. The question is, tomorrow, if he makes a 50 or a 60 and Rohit Sharma comes back, are you going to have fresh openers? But maybe that's for fast forward after the test match is over.
That would be, Harsha, as they call it, a very, very good problem to have for India. This has been Cricbuzz Chatter on a delightful Boxing Day at the MCG. Cannot wait to do it all again tomorrow. Adam Collins and Harsha Bhogle. We'll talk to you then.